100%, silver by 250%. How do you see this in the last 1 year, this phenomenon?
The uncertainties in the world are making people to fall back on, let's say, time-proven asset, which is gold. And that's bound to be because it is beyond anyone's fair assessment to see where things will move, and therefore the demand for gold.
Okay. That brings me to the next point, which was also discussed a lot this budget. Capital gains on sovereign gold bonds purchased in the secondary market. Market participants feel this is some kind of a retrospective tax. Do you agree with that? What was the logic behind
No.
this?
The intent of the sovereign gold bond was at the time of the issuance and also making sure that you hold it the full term.
Yes.
So those are the two boxes to be checked. If you are doing one and not the other, you picked it up not at the time of issuance but from the secondary markets, one of the boxes not getting ticked, and therefore you're taxed. You bought it during issuance, but you're not holding it full term.
Right.
One box is not checked, so you're being taxed. It's only when you have taken it at issuance and you're holding it full term,
Yes.
you get that concession. So every other, which there are only 4 situations, right? So the other 3 situations where both the boxes are not getting checked
is where you understand. You set up a committee to review the banking sector. What will be the remit of this committee? What are the timelines that you are looking at? Could you give us some details?
I've not worked on the TOR yet,
Okay.
but the broad intent was that towards Viksit Bharat, there couldn't be better time for us, especially now when the bank's health is very good. We would want from that strength to understand where we can go and how do we go, which is the path that we take to go there. So that is where we want that committee to work.
You know, in the past you have been disappointed about private sector, capex not picking up. This has been, you've said it in a couple of meetings, you've said it in our interviews as well. Do you see an uptick now because of certain reforms that you have introduced?
I see some green shoots. I think it is the situation is improving, and I have reasons to believe that private sector investments will only grow.
When I was asking you about this bank committee, there are 2 questions that I have related to that. One is, are you looking at the consolidation of PSU banks? Some mega banks as opposed to a whole lot of PSU banks today. And the second, would you allow conglomerates, Indian private conglomerates, to get into banking?
That's for the committee to tell me. Of course, I've told you that the terms of reference is not made yet. But obviously, when you're looking at banking for Viksit Bharat, banking sector for a Viksit Bharat, there are many core such issues which the committee will have to look into. We'll wait and see what they have to say. It may not be right for me to give my view and preempt what they're going to say.
But about the PSU banks, directionally, are we in that direction? I mean, there are far too many of them, and a consolidation of some kind might lead to bigger entities which may be more viable.
Let's wait for the committee to say. There is a need for India to have more banks, better banks, bigger banks, whatever. The committee will have to have its mind said.
One more interesting question I have, that you'd announced 7 new high-speed rail corridors in your budget. Again, a little more details. What are the time frame that you are looking at? How will you go about it?
It's so much left to the rail ministry, but the fact that they've done the ground necessary study and the route plan and everything else, and they were absolutely clear that budgetary announcement will make them, sit up and deliver it. They are definitely going to be delivered at the earliest, because these are dependent on India's technologies, Indian coaches, and so on. So the Rail Ministry will get into the details of it.
I've asked you this question before, but India's trade deficit with China is greater than about $116 billion in 2025. Even though the exports have also gone up, how do you tackle this issue?
That is where I think we are very clear in Atmanirbhar Bharat. We need to have capacities built in India for those essential goods that we import and make sure that we are able to make it in India for Indian market. Even as I say this, we have not restricted the imports of some of the critical machines or equipments or some raw materials which are so important for our industries. So capacities will have to grow, but in the meanwhile you still need for those very same capacities imported equipments. So we are doing a fine balancing act in not denying the raw material coming or the equipment coming, because there are some precision tools which you so need when you're going to set up a particular type of factory. We need those to come in here. But at the same time, capacities in India will have to be expanded, ramped up sooner,